Before we get into today's unbelievable true story, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss another upload. If you are watching this right now, drop your current location and the exact time in the comments below, because I love seeing where in the world all of you are listening from. Make sure you stay tuned all the way until the very end, because this story has a lesson you truly need to hear. I will never forget the morning my phone buzzed while sitting at the kitchen table. My sister called out of nowhere to inform me that our father had passed away during the night. The absolute absurdity was that my dad was sitting less than 3 feet away from me, quietly stealing bacon off my breakfast plate while sipping his coffee. I immediately muted my gasp and placed the entire call on speakerphone so he could hear everything. She did not cry or sound broken up about the loss of our parent. Instead, she coldly explained that our father had died in his sleep and that his entire estate now belonged exclusively to her and her husband. She made it crystal clear that I was getting absolutely nothing from his will. Her husband chuckled in the background, adding that I was finally removed from the family picture forever, while my father listened in complete silence. My father carefully set his coffee down, smiled a dark, knowing smile, and listened. Neither of them had the slightest clue that the man they believed was lying in a morgue was hearing their scheme unravel in real time. What unfolded over the next 48 hours ended in a public memorial service that our entire small town is still talking about. The disaster began 9 months prior when my father fell off a ladder while clearing gutters. Because I was working across the country as a traveling nurse, my sister offered to step in and handle his daily chores. She quickly convinced him to sign a power of attorney so her husband could pay his basic household bills. It sounded reasonable, and I had no reason to suspect bad intentions. However, every time I tried calling my father directly, my sister intercepted the call claiming he was sleeping, resting, or too exhausted to talk. When I finally traveled home for the holidays, my father looked completely different than the vibrant man I remembered. He had lost weight, barely spoke, and admitted he had not seen his own bank records in months. The moment I suggested reviewing his accounts together, her husband became defensive and accused me of creating unnecessary drama. My father begged me not to ruin the holiday, so I reluctantly returned to my work assignment across the country. A few months later, a nurse friend called with shocking news about an elderly resident at a local facility who kept asking for his daughter Emma. That forgotten resident turned out to be my actual father, and nobody had bothered to notify me he had been placed inside a care facility. My sister and her husband had spent months convincing him that I knew about the move and fully approved of his institutionalization while blocking all communication. My father signed his own discharge papers that very afternoon, and the next morning we visited his local bank branch to inspect his records. Nearly $200,000 had been siphoned out of his retirement accounts to fund her husband's business and cover their personal vacation property. An attorney immediately stepped in to freeze a pending loan against his home and discovered a second forged document granting complete control over his remaining assets. Our legal counsel explained that criminal charges would be infinitely stronger if the couple publicly attempted to rely on those fraudulent documents to claim the estate. That was when my father devised an incredible plan to catch them off guard. His lifelong friend, a retired local funeral director, contacted my sister and simply stated that my father had suddenly collapsed and passed away without giving any extra official details. My sister never asked about the cause of death or requested to see the body before changing the exterior locks on his house. 2 days later, the entire community gathered inside the local chapel for what they believed was my father's official memorial service. Her husband confidently stepped up to the front podium, announced that my father left everything to them, and read a clause stating I had been deliberately excluded from the inheritance. Just as he finished reading, the side door slowly opened, and my father calmly strolled into his own memorial service in his finest suit. The entire room froze in complete shock as my sister looked like she had seen a ghost, while her husband stood motionless, with the forged paperwork raised in his hand. My father walked directly up to the podium, adjusted the microphone, and calmly stated that dead men certainly do not sign legal papers. Our attorney immediately stepped forward to present concrete evidence of financial fraud and forgery to the stunned audience. Sheriff deputies entered the building to escort her husband away for formal questioning as his entire reputation crumbled in front of everyone. My sister broke down and admitted they were drowning in debt, but then had the nerve to blame me for exposing their secret operation to the public instead of taking responsibility for her actions. Most of my father's stolen life savings were eventually recovered. The fraudulent loan was voided, and my sister faced court-ordered probation and restitution. My father moved back into his beloved home, wound his old antique clock, and restored warmth to the house. Today, every weekend I drive over to share breakfast with him at the exact same kitchen table where he still playfully steals bacon off my plate just to make me smile. We recovered the financial assets, but the money was never the most important victory we achieved through that trial. The real victory was that my father reclaimed his voice and his freedom before it was far too late for him. Assets can be taken and money can disappear, but as long as you keep your voice, nobody else gets to write the final chapter of your life story for you. Thank you so much for watching today's story. If this video impacted you, please leave a like, share it with a friend, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe for more crazy, dynamic, real-life stories every week.